Welcome back. We have the winner of the giveaway. The winner here is Rebirth Phoenix. Congratulations, you won a precursor. Make sure that you send us a message at Digital Pro Sports on Twitch so that we can get you your prize.
Congratulations, man. Make sure you message us so we can make sure that you get your prize as quickly as possible. All right, so we are in the second semifinal. We saw the Abjured just blow away the Uncivilized Rough Boys, moving on to the finals as easy as I could possibly imagine a team doing, with a lot of convincing wins today. We're now going to find out which team is going to be facing the Abjured in the finals in that best of 5 at the end for the Ascended Armor. We've got Cognitive Gaming, we've got APeX. I'm not sure which team is going to have the advantage. Right now I'm predicting Cognitive Gaming just because it seems like Backpack has always had APEX's number as of late. I'm predicting Cognitive Gaming in a 2-1, but when all the chips are down, these teams are so evenly matched, just don't know who's going to take it.
Yeah, it could go either way, and you know what? Just because of that, I'm not sure who I can actually pick for this one. As a prediction, you know, this is something that I said that APeX would take, in my opinion, but looking at this, you know, I'm not quite sure. It's gonna be a pretty rough one for both sides here, and we're gonna have to see how it goes. You know, APeX is a very solid team, but we've seen that they do have some flaws that they might need to work out, those kinks, if they're gonna look to take down the Abjured in the finals, if they do manage to get back past Cognitive Gaming. As well, Cognitive Gaming actually kind of had a little bit of a hiccup in their quarterfinal match here, and they actually had to go to Game 3 to make sure that they could take that. So, you know, both teams looking to try to settle some scores here and make their way into the finals to face off against Abjured. We're going to have to see how it goes.
You know what? Whoever wins, though, we're going to see some great Guild Wars 2 PvP. This is going to be at the highest level of play, I think. Both of these teams have been in the finals of major tournament events before, so it's going to be great to see these teams go head-to-head, and we're going to see a lot of high-level play between our 2 seed and our 3 seed. So let's go ahead look at the team comps and the builds. It looks like Cognitive Gaming is going to be running with an Engineer, a Warrior, 2 Ellies, and another Warrior. At the same time, you've got APeX running with an Engineer, that Ranger, Warrior, another Ellie, or sorry, their first Ellie and H-Man going on Necro. I'm going to let Hirix go ahead and talk about the builds, starting with Morph.
All right, looking over here at Morph Nades, he's going to be running that same build that we saw him just running before. He's going to be running that hybrid rifle NG build. He's going to be running it with obviously the rifle, the Holbrack runes, the Celestial Amulet, running the trait 60044. He's going to be running that Elixir S to make sure that he doesn't get CC'd and punished to death straight out of the gates. Looking now at Knight, he's going to be running that CC burst pressure that we saw him run last time. It's going to be short bow. He's going to be running Axe Dagger, Crate Runes, Rabbit Amulet, and he's going to be running the traits 02660. He's going to be grabbing those Sharpening Stones to help out the bleed damage burst from the Entangle, the Sharpening Stones, as well as the Axe 2 there to make sure he can stack an unbelievable amount of bleeds when paired with Tarsus there and absolutely rip apart an enemy there straight out of the gates. Now looking at Tarsus, we just talked about him. He does have a lot of bleed pressure because he's going to be running Sword Warhorn and the longbow. A lot of immobilize, a lot of bleed, good CC pressure, some decent power damage as well because of the way that Celestial Amulet works with both of these weapon sets. He's going to be running it with Runes of the Soldier and Celestial Amulet. This is a Shout hybrid build. It's going to have a little bit of everything. He has a little bit of team support. He has a little bit of damage pressure. He has a little bit of CC in the form of immobilize. He has a little bit of Connie pressure there too. He's going to be running with the trait set 10463. Moving straight on today here, he's going to be running that DD build. We saw him running earlier. He's got his staff out for pre-buffs right now, but he's going to be running Runes of the Holbrack and Celestial Amulet, running that typical DD build we're used to seeing 00266. Now moving straight on to H-Man, he's going to be running that Terror build we saw him using as well. So no changes here from the APeX team. He's going to be running Staff, Scepter, Dagger here with the Runes of the Nightmare and Carrion Amulet running 06404.
All right, now let's go ahead and take a look at the blue team, starting with Backpack. Backpack is probably the best Guild Wars 2 PvP player right now. He is rated the highest on both the DPS and the Misspedia leaderboards. in both 2v2 action and in the 5v5 conquest mode. He is running with that rifle build where he actually has made a guide for it. You can find it on YouTube. Just go ahead and look for Backpack's Selly rifle build. It is a fantastic guide. I've watched it myself. He gives you a lot of insight on how he plays. He's running with the Celestial Amulet and the Rune of the Strength. He has the rifle, running with the traits 60044. Now we're going to look at a Candace. A Candace is actually running with a warrior today, going with a Hambo build, Soldier's Amulet, with the Rune of the Holbrick, going with the hammer and the longbow, with the traits 00626. I think this is actually the first Hambo build we've seen on stream today. The Hambo is designed to provide a lot of sustain and stand on the point for his team. He's going to provide that res utility with the war banner and just a lot of great AoE damage coming out from the longbow. So it is a great build. It is a very powerful build, especially for standing on points and giving his team that res support utility as well as the CC. Now looking over at Skovex. Skovex is running Elementalist. He is running with Renewing Stamina, so I think he's going to stay with those daggers that he has out right now. He's running with the Celestial Amulet, the Rune of the Holbrick, and he's providing the traits of 00266. His build is designed to provide a lot of sustained damage. On top of that, a lot of team support utility, a lot of heals and Condi cleanse for his team. He's also going to be able to stand on a point for a decent amount of time and stall for his teams. So look for Skovex to be filling that role very nicely with this build. Then you also have Young Thaddeus. Young Thaddeus is also playing Elementalist. He too is running with the Renewing Stamina trait, so he's going to be staying on Dagger, running with the Celestial Amulet and Runes of the Holbrick, with the traits again 00266, doing the same thing that Skovex is doing. So right now you see a lot of sustain coming out on Cognitive Gaming side. Finally, we have Java. Java is running with his warrior build, kind of a little bit different build than we see a Candace running. He is running with the Soldier's Amulet and the Rune of the Holbrick, running with that longbow and the hammer as well, but he is going with the traits 20606. He too is also taking the war banner, so he's going to be providing that CC and that res utility, but he is opting for great fortitude as opposed to the 2 points in tactics. So he's actually putting 2 points in strength instead, just to give himself a little bit more vitality, it looks like. Not sure if he's going to switch that up before the game starts to put 2 in tactics, but for right now, that's what he's got.
And both teams here, you know, looking over at Cognitive Gaming, they have a lot of sustain. Both teams kind of do. So neither team is opting for what we saw last game with a lot of damage pressure, a lot of burst damage coming out, really controlling the fights by taking members out early and then cleaving them down. This is a little bit of a different game here, and it looks like what is going to happen is these fights are going to be about who can stay up the longest, who can support their team the best. We're going to see a lot of teams, or both teams, sorry, trying to peel for their teammates, you know, with all of this DDLE action going on, as well as this Inji action here that we have coming from Backpack, as well as Morph here. You know, they have a lot of AoE heals. They have a lot of AoE team support to provide for their team.
You know what? This is both teams are ready to go. They are getting their swiftness buff up. This is APeX versus Cognitive Gaming. Winner goes on to face the Abjured in the finals. The loser is forced to play for that consolation prize in the third place game. Let's see how the teams go ahead and split. Again, this is on Temple, so I don't normally see a lot of teams being aggressive here and pushing far on the start. You only normally do that with just one player, but it looks like the blue team is actually going to send 2 over to the Temple. At the same time, we have a 1v1, a 3v2 developing on the midpoint on gate. APeX has been able to reinforce that fight on the midpoint, but Cognitive Gaming was able to take their point for free while putting pressure on APeX right away on that far node. So it looks like the early advantage in this game is going to go to Cognitive Gaming.
Yeah, and Java is really low here with no ability to get out of that, and it looks like over here on the other point with Tarsus as well as Knight in this 2v2, they're looking to pressure Backpack out, and Backpack is very low with CC's already on him, and this is just what we talked about with Knight and Anis Tarsus there. They're actually, with all the support that they have, you wouldn't expect so much damage pressure to come out, but because of all of those Condis that come out, because of Knight's Condi Burst build that he's running, as well as the sword utility and the longbow utility coming out with all those immobilizers, all those bleeds. Backpack just can't stand all of those condies with just the healing turret to get that off.
Yeah, and at the same time, it looks like APeX is going to be able to gain the advantage in that midpoint. They were able to win that fight, so we have Morph capping the midpoint for APeX. So while Cognitive Gaming was able to build a small lead, APeX is able to actually get back in this by getting that 2 cap and sliding over in time to stop any potential crossers that are going to go for their home. As we see, Backpack did try to cross. H-Man has intercepted him at the same time. The rest of blue team has pushed into mid, where it's just Chubbs and Morph trying to hold out against 4 members of the blue team. We do see Knight sliding over, trying to provide more Condi pressure, but Day has gone into the downstate. Knight going for the res. Let's see if he's able to get him up, as Skovex and Thaddeus are putting out a lot of cleave. Knight is going to be forced to back off of that res. H-Man is not able to get over there either, and Knight is going into the downstate. A great turn of events for the blue team.
Yeah, and Morph also forced low as well. He's going to be kind of chased out here with Burning It still on him, but he's going to get away, fortunately for their team, and it's looking like APeX Prime now in a state where they were having such a dominating start here with that 2 cap, catching up to the blue team rather quickly, and now they're just trying to catch up. Morph now moving over to Anastarsis to try to take Backpack out. Anastarsis doing a great job of setting up a mobilized pressure down on Backpack, and now Backpack is actually trying to get out, but he pulls Morph in and shoots Morph right back out onto the point and puts down an immobilizer on him. And Morph is now in deep, deep trouble if Anastarsis can't get enough support to him. And now Morph is backed up into a corner and downstated, and Morph is potentially going to get dropped, but the banner actually comes out, and Morph is right back up into the fight with Day now in the fight as well, but Akanda swapped over too, and now it's a 3v3 with Day under the most pressure here, but he's going to try to peel out, and it looks like all the pressure being dropped onto Java here, and Java's really, really low with all the pressure on him, and he has nothing left with the Berserker stance down now, and the Condi pressure is coming out, and the burns are coming out, and Morph is low too, but he gets the heal for his team, and Java is down now, and Java gets stomped out here, and now it's taking APeX getting this point back, but the 2 cap coming from Cognitive Gaming, they're starting up that dominance, and they're coming back and putting some pain down on APeX Prime.
Yeah, you know what? At the same time, even though they lost that fight over on, looks like Temple, sorry, even though they lost that fight on Temple, they were able to secure the other 2 points and win those fights on the other 2 points. The buff has now come up at the 1130 buff has come up. If they cap that buff, they're going to be able to double their point score. But we have a fight developing over on the gate, over on that midpoint, as Thaddeus is in the downstate and is forced to misform off the point, trying to get a res from his team.
And now Knight is putting pressure on him, but he gets rezzed up, and now Day is under heavy pressure, and Day is forced to teleport out now with his burns on him, and Knight is low as well. There's tons of Condis now on Knight and Day, and Knight is dropped, and we're going to have to see how APeX plays this out with blue team all over APeX Prime. Cognitive putting the pain down, H-Man trying to put some pressure out. They tried to get the banner heal on Knight, but it didn't actually work. Knight did not get fully up, and they're trying to res him up, and they do manage to get him up, but unfortunately they take a lot of cleave damage there, and now they're all very, very low, not sitting pretty right now with all members of Cognitive Gaming at very high health pools, except for Java, who's getting pressured with that Condi burst build, and now it looks like APeX is trying to turn it onto Java as much as they possibly can, but young Thaddeus, as we saw there on stream, did a great job appealing for their team and holding that cap. So now APeX Prime in a 3 cap situation here, and they're going to have to try to figure out what they're going to do to come back here. You know, is this going to be a repeat of what happened to Eternal Legends? But Backpack trying to get this point out, but he actually gets stalled out by APeX. Great job managing to stall that out, but it looks like Backpack might actually get that again, but he got stalled again. But now this is a situation where we're going to have to see how it plays out. What we want to see is a lot of competition here. We want to see these scores even up. We want to see these teams fight at each other's throats.
Yeah, and in order to do that, APeX is going to have to get a point back. Cognitive Gaming has been all over them this entire time from the start with their great aggressive push coming out onto the temple at the very beginning. They're now in a 2-cap situation. Candace has been doing a great job stalling out at the altar in a 2v1 situation against Night and Day. Just going into the downstate now. The mid buff is still up. The 1130 buff never was capped. At the same time, now the 830 buff is about to come up. That's the bottom buff. buff, which will give your team all 3 cap points. If you're the blue team, if you're Cognitive Gaming, you've done a fantastic job so far this entire game of keeping the pressure on APeX. You do not want to let them get back in this game by giving up that bottom buff. Backpack has done a fantastic job constantly keeping that mid buff under contention. He is going very low, though, forced to get that gear shield block out at the top buff. At the same time, we see that fight developing for the bottom buff. The bottom buff might become key here, as that will cap all 3 points in favor of your team. Java looked like he was going to be able to get it momentarily, but Knight has slid over to interrupt that, and now we have a 1v1 Knight versus Java at the bottom buff. Whoever caps this for their team is going to be able to cap all 3 points in favor of their team.
Yeah, and Cognitive Gaming is going to look to hopefully stall this out as long as possible, maybe take a kill if they can, but their whole objective is to make sure that this 1-to-1 cap lasts as long as they possibly can make it last, because the reason is they're up by so many points, Justin. They're up by 180 points here, and all they want is to make sure that they can get those points. You know, we just saw a decap coming out. APeX Prime managed to get that far node, their home node there, decapped, and now it's a 1-cap situation. You know, there are 170 points out here. Are they going to be able to come back?
I don't know, man. You know, I thought this was going to be going in favor of Cognitive Gaming, but Morph was able to get the decap over on Temple, so the only team right now that has a point is APeX Prime, with a 1v1 developing in favor of Day on mid. But look, Java has gone into the downstate. Knight, though, is also going very, very low at the bottom buff. Remember, whoever caps this is going to give a 3 cap for his team. The top buff has been capped in favor of APeX, though. Knight doing an incredible job here, winning this 2v1 right now, putting a lot of pressure on Java, trying to keep him in the downstate.
And there's 25 stacks of bleeds coming out. So much pressure down on them, and Day comes in to help with the cleave. You see 1,800 damage ticks coming in from that bleed damage. So much pressure coming out. Java is actually going to be picked back up here, but now Candace is so low with nothing left to get him back up, and he tries to get those condies off. He's running away for his life now with 20% HP, and he tries to peel back with Day right on top of him, and Day's going to put a lot of pressure down on him. Knight's trying to get those bleeds back up. All the condies are back up on top of him, but there's the Berserker stance, and he comes back in, and he's going to live just long enough to make sure that his team gets in there and helps him out. But at Candace's Berserker stance is now down, and he's just trying to line of sight them as long as he possibly can, but with Knight and Day all over him, he goes down into the downstate, and Java is right there following up right now, and he's going to be dropped as well. That is a great 2v2 by Knight. Knight actually taking that from a 2v1 situation. They're going to get that bottom buff, and now it's only 20 points out with a 2 cap in favor of APeX Prime. Now a 3 cap potentially if they can get this bottom buff here with Day just line of sighting for Knight there, and they managed to get it. This could potentially be a comeback. I can't believe what I'm seeing. APeX Prime now with the 3 cap. They're coming back. They're coming back, and now it's 310. They just took the lead right now with only 200 points left in the game. 5.5 minutes left. The buff has just come back up on top. Who is going to get this buff and help? If APeX can get this buff, it is a 6-point game right here with 6 points capped. They're going to potentially take this game into their favor.
You know what? If you are Cognitive Gaming, you have got to get a point back right now. You have somehow lost the momentum, and Backpack has done a fantastic job realizing that. It looks like he was able to fight off a member of APeX from that far node, from that altar point, so he is able to get that point back for his team. That is great for Cognitive Gaming, but you've got to get that top buff, and you've got to get another point. So this is going to come down to the last stage of the game. Who can get that top buff, and who can secure the 2 cap the longest? Right now, though, this is going in favor of APeX. All they have to do right now is just to hold on, is to stall at the top buff and keep that 2 cap. But it looks like Skovex has realized that Temple is wide open right now, so Skovex slid over. Let's see if Day is able to get onto that point in time. He was able to do so. That top buff is still in contention. Neither team is able to get it.
And young Thaddeus actually gets dropped just as you saw, but he might actually have gotten picked up, and he does actually manage to get picked up. And now APeX is trying to win this top buff here, and it's a 1v1 Dagger versus Dagger. Skovex versus the other Scovex versus Day. Looking here at mid buff though, as this unfolds, Morph is downstated. Knight is very, very low, and Knight, as we just saw, take that 1v2. He's putting a ton of pressure down on the Candace again, but Knight gets dropped in the downstate, and H-Man is just trying to put fears down to help his teammate, and he puts the plague up so that he can get that stability and help his teammate, and Knight is potentially going to get back up, but it looks like all the CC coming out, all the damage put on H-Man. It looks like H-Man cannot effectively get Knight up, but it looks like maybe a Candace might get dropped before Knight does, and Knight gets picked back up, and a Candace does actually go back up as well, but he's in Vengeance, so he's going to be dropped soon. He's going to try to get as much pressure as he can onto Knight, potentially, to drop him down, but now it looks like H-Man is down too. I can't believe what I'm seeing. Backpack is down on point. It's going to be a race to who goes down. A Candace goes full dead from that Vengeance, and Backpack is next here, and it looks like APeX is going to take this midpoint. Now, however, while this was happening, blue team had that one cap, so they're kind of coming back with that deficit a little bit now. So now it's only 65 points away, but they need to hold this point here a little bit longer so that red team can't cap that gate. However, we have to remember at 2.5 minutes, we see H-Man coming down to this bottom buff. This bottom buff comes back up, and it's exactly what we saw before. This could potentially be the game if they don't see H-Man doing this. 15 seconds left until the buff comes up. There's 1v1s everywhere, skirmishes everywhere. Could APeX take this back into their favor?
I don't know, man. Normally that 230 buff does not come up. You normally don't get to the point in the game where you see that buff actually come up, so I'm not sure which team is actually going to remember and actually go for it. APeX still does not have a point. They had all of the momentum in their favor, but Cognitive Gaming has done a fantastic job getting back into this game. They had a 3 cap against them at one point, but they were able to overcome that and actually put pressure on these nodes. Morph has been stomped out. Knight is going into the downstate. H-Man as well. We have a 1v1, it looks like, between H-Man and Java developing in the bottom buff. Java is super low. If H-Man is able to get Java down and stomped out, he might be able to get that buff for his team and get all 3 points capped. That Day Scovex fight over on the Temple hasn't developed yet. Neither one has gained an advantage. They're both basically at full health.
And now 2 cap coming out. It looks like Cognitive is not letting this one go at all. Thaddeus with the 1v1 now with H-Man, but it looks like we're going to have an NG come in to help out, take out H-Man as soon as possible, and H-Man is going to be dropped very soon with Backpack help coming in to do that. But Knight is now here with his teammate H-Man here. He might potentially get his teammate back up. Not enough pressure in on Knight, and it looks like H-Man's going to get back up if he can, and that is it. H-Man is back up, and it looks like the decap actually just happened, but there is now a 9-point deficit and only a minute left in this game, and H-Man is dropped again. It looks like Backpack is going to get this stomp with the Elixir S now, and he's going to be dropping H-Man completely out of the fight, and now it's 462 to 445. They have exactly 56 seconds left in this game to turn it back around. They have 20 points to gain. Who is going to take this?
This is incredible. For a moment there, none of the points were capped, but as you saw, blue team is able to get the Temple with just 45 seconds left. Somebody from APeX is going to have to get over to Temple, but no, blue team has also been able to full cap the gate. This is going to go in favor of Cognitive Gaming. This has been an incredible game. Both teams putting out a lot of high-level play. You just see, it looks like blue team is also going to get the bottom buff as Day has been stomped out down at the bottom. It is going to go 502 to 445. Congratulations, Cognitive Gaming. They take game 1 here in this semifinals. What an incredible match, Erix.
What an incredible match. You know, none of that is anything what we expected. You know, we saw a comeback, and then we saw a comeback from the comeback. You know, awesome. You don't expect to see that every match. This is the kind of stuff we were looking for. This is the kind of stuff you can expect to see at the World Tournament Series qualifiers. You know, this is the stuff that we want to see on PvP. This is the stuff that we live for.
You know, this has been fantastic. Again, both of these teams have played each other so many times, okay? And Backpack knows APeX so well that you just saw this tug of war between both of these teams, Cognitive Gaming and APeX Prime. What a great game. What a fantastic game. That 230 buff actually came up and was in contention. Both teams had to fight for it. That's rare. That's not something you see. Most of the time, the game is decided well by that 230 point. The game almost went to timer there. So an incredible game. Both teams had a 3-cap at one point, and both teams had a significant lead and gave it up at one point in the game. So just a great game overall. Absolutely fantastic. I hope we get to see another one here on Forest momentarily. Honestly, either team, I wouldn't make any changes. You're playing at a high level. Just play your game. Hope to catch the other team sleeping on this one. It's going to be a battle. It's going to be a battle. And especially if you're APeX, you're going to have to fight and grind one out here. Yeah, you just lost a very close game where you could have won. But Cognitive Gaming, you just got to buckle down, win this game, and get to the finals to get to Absurd.
Yeah.
APeX is going to have to win too. But Cognitive Gaming, you are one game away. Just put the pedal to the metal, go full gear.
Yeah, and looking back on the history of both of these teams, Cognitive Gaming, Backpack is one of those players that he's a really strong player. You can't live that down. He's a very strong player. Played very well for his team there. Made a couple of great plays for his team. Looking over on APeX, Knight is that silent warrior that you don't really hear a lot about. Legends, you've heard a lot about Chubbs running that staff elementalist, but you never really heard too much about Knight. And in this game, you can see Knight is one of those players that can take that 1v2 situation and turn it into his favor. He lasted just long enough to down someone in a 1v1 and turn that into a great fight for his teammate and get that bottom buff.
Yeah, all right, let's just see which team is able to take this out. Is it going to be Knight with his amazing 1v2 ability, or is it going to be Backpack, the best player in Guild Wars 2 PvP right now? Let's go ahead and get into that server, see how the teams break out here on Forest. Remember, Forest is the map where you have those bosses coming out on the top left and the top right. Those bosses are worth 25 points. The cap points are actually shaped in a triangle. You have the henge over to the left, the mine over to the right, with the keep in the middle. Both teams have readied up already. Let's see how they are going to split here. Normally, you see teams pushing far. In order to try to get one of those cap points contested. So let's see how they split. And it looks like, it looks like there's a little bit of confusion here. I'm not sure if they're going to restart the match.
We might potentially have that.
Yeah,
same
it looks like
problem.
Thad just DC'd. So we actually have a DC. Oh man, what a disappointment here. We had Thad DC. So we are going to try to get him back here as quickly as possible. Sorry about that, guys. Just a little technical difficulties on Thad's part. Both teams were amped and ready to go, and then as the splits happened, Thad DC'd.
Yeah.
So let's go ahead and get him in as quickly as possible. But again, as I was saying, on Forest, you normally see teams pushing all 3 points on the start. That is so they can put that early pressure on the other team's far node. Hirix, why don't you go explain why that is?
They really want to put some pressure early because, you don't want to give that team that free cap. That's not something you want because that's how these problems start up. You had a game that we just saw. It was within several points. If you have a game turn out because you couldn't get to that node quick enough and you couldn't get those points early on or defend those points early on, that's where you're going to have those losses. And if you have different mistakes like that, those kind of compound onto each other, and that's how you get a 500-0. That's the kind of thing that we see some of the top-tier players actually do against some of the players that don't actually know how to do that kind of thing. However, looking back a little bit at our predictions here, we have to take a look. Let's re-go over it. We have, again, APeX Prime, one of the most consistent teams in the NA tier. A high-tier PvP team. They've always done fairly well, a little bit rocky as of late during Tournament of Legends 2, but they're coming back pretty strong here. However, they did just lose to this team. Backpack, according to our ELO, is the top-rated player because of our rating system right now. However, does that mean that he is able to take on the Leviathan that is the APeX Prime team? These people work as a team, so
I think we just saw the answer is yes. I think we just saw that Backpack, just for whatever reason, has APEX's number. We saw it with Outplayed by Children in the Tournament of Legends 2 finals, where Backpack was on that team along with some members of the Abjured and the Uncivilized Rep Boys, and they were able to take it to APEX and win. So you know what? I think just for whatever reason, Cognitive Gaming with Backpack has just been able to figure out APeX Prime enough to win most of those matches. We just saw a very tense, close matchup, but remember, Cognitive Gaming had control in that match early on, and APeX had to storm back first. Yes, Cognitive Gaming made some mistakes that allowed APeX to get back into the match, but if Cognitive Gaming is able to get those mistakes on lockdown, they're going to be able to rotate better, hopefully, in this game. I actually think Cognitive Gaming might be able to take this against APeX Prime in the same convincing fashion as they were winning in that last game. So, yes, APeX Prime, it has been one of the most consistent forces in this tournament scene in North America all summer. They've been one of the best teams in North America, but I just got to give it to Cognitive Gaming and Backpack and Candace, as they just seem to, for whatever reason, have APEX's number. As we just saw earlier in that last close game. Looks like both teams, though, are getting back into the server. Thankfully, Thaddeus has come back, and the map has been reset to Forest. So let's go ahead and jump into that map view as quickly as possible. Hirix, why don't you, again, just sort of predict what do you think we're going to see in this match?
I think we're going to see a lot of the same things we saw before. There's a lot of emphasis on these team fights. Both teams are very good at holding some sustained fights. We have Tarsus with that support build. We have Day running Dagger. We have Morph on the hybrid Engie. We have the same thing on the other team. We have the 2 Dagger Ellies. We have the 2 Soldier Warriors. We have Backpack running that hybrid Engie build there. There's a lot of sustain on both sides. We're going to have to see who can go down or who can bring the other team one person down first, and then potentially grab that and take that into their advantage.
All right, so both teams have readied up. Let's go ahead and see how they split. Again, on Forest, you do see teams pushing the far node, and they're able to get there pretty quickly and prevent the full cap. Cognitive Gaming is just one game away from going on to the Tournament of Glory finals. Let's see if they are able to do so, or is APeX Prime going to win this and make it a 1-1 game? The last game was incredible. Let's see if we can get a similar finish from both of these teams. As we see, Red Team has sent Knight and one of their warriors over, Tarsus, over to the Henge. At the same time, it looks like Red Team is going to get the full cap on mine, as Blue Team was not able to prevent the cap. The Blue Team is going to smartly back off, as a Candace and Skovix are going to go into the keep, where they are going to jump on H-Man as quickly as possible. H-Man is going to have to be able to sustain himself against this burst, and he does. He goes into the plague form. What is going over on a Henge here?
Looking at Henge here, we have Tarsus and Knight again with that 2v2 situation. They really like this setup. They really do, because Tarsus can peel those Condis off with the Warhorn and the shouts for Knight, and Knight can just provide that Condi burst while Tarsus sustains against the fight here. And we're going to have to see how this plays out. Tarsus is pretty low, but he's going to peel around, and it's pretty hard to get Tarsus down when he's in this mode here. He's going to be running around and trying to peel as much as possible and trying to use his Warhorn to cleanse off those Condis and use his sword to get out of there as much as possible, and then use that longbow, as we saw with the burst there, draining those Condis off of him. And what I want to see right now with young Thaddeus down here, and it looks like APeX getting a heavy lead, 50-0 so far, and Thaddeus down now. Tarsus putting a lot of pressure down with Knight. Knight and Tarsus, I believe, undefeated in these 2v2 situations. I want to see in chat right now, I want to see everybody give their predictions. Who is going to win this game? Who is going to take Game 2 here in the Tournament of Glory Finals for this match?
And it is the Tournament of Glory semifinals. Type in right now, who do you think is going to win the Tournament of Glory semifinals Game 2? Just Game 2. Go ahead and type that in. Spam that into chat. Right now, it looks like APeX has climbed into an incredible lead. 81-3 right now. 81-4. They have at 2 cap with the keep and the mine in their favor. It looks like Blue Team has aggravated the Chieftain, has gotten the Chieftain to target them. They're not able to get behind the keep as quickly as they would like. Tarsus is running over to the Henge, pulling with him Java, and the rest of the Blue Team is going to push over to the keep, where they're going to try to get that point away from Morph and H-Man, but Morph and H-Man doing a great job supporting themselves. Thaddeus and Candace have their work cut out for them. They're going to target H-Man on the start, as Candace is putting out a lot of CC on H-Man. Great choice, as H-Man does not have many stun breaks. Morph is really struggling to stay on that point as he knocks himself off of it with the overcharge shot, but he is going to stay on that point just barely, keep that team, keep that point in favor of his team. Over on the mine, we have a 1v1 situation, but Knight is going to go down here on the keep. Candace going in for the stomp, but Skovix is going to get it. Knight is stomped out, and just Morph is left on the keep as it has been decapped, but Tarsus has now slid over for his team to help out
and
APeX.
So has H-Man. H-Man putting a ton of pressure down with Tarsus onto Young Thaddeus, and Young Thaddeus is dropped into the downstate, but so is Morph. Who's going to get the kill first? It looks like Morph is actually going to get the banner from Tarsus. Tarsus gets him back up, and Young Thaddeus is up as well. It looks like both teams managed to get their teammates up, but Morph and H-Man are both very, very low, and Morph is going to try to heal and run off with Young Thaddeus kind of chasing him now with Shocking Aura up, putting some heavy burning damage down on him, and Day goes down from his 1v1 over there in at mine, sorry, and it looks like they're going to be trying to move the fight over there. Now it's a one-cap situation with blue team kind of catching up to APeX here. APeX is going to have to hold this now. They're going to have to try to take this. We got Day coming back up potentially, but actually Morph is just going to jump right over him and let his teammate go down so he could get into this node and actually try to potentially hold it, but he lost it actually. They do manage to decap it, my bad. They do manage to decap it over on their far north node, and Morph actually picks it back up for his team, but he's going to be dropped very, very shortly.
You know, Backpack is just playing lights out like a #1 player should. He won that 1v1 against Day. He is going into the downstate now, though, as Morph is also in the downstate. Let's see if Thaddeus is going to attempt to get him up or just stall that point for his team. Cognitive Gaming has the one cap right now, so Thaddeus is just going to back off and give the mine over to APeX Prime and see if he can slide over to the keep and help his teammates there, where it is a 2v1 right now against Tarsus. Both Candace and Skovex almost have Tarsus in the downstate. Blue team is going to get the 2 cap here and come back into the game as Tarsus is in the downstate. Skovex was interrupted trying to stop him, but he is going to get the stop now. He stops out Tarsus. It looks like they are going to get the advantage here on this keep, but 2 members of the red team have slid over to the keep, so they're fighting a 4v2 right now, trying to keep that point stalled as long as possible.
And just like that, blue team manages to cap that node, and now it's a 2-1 cap, and it looks like this lead that APeX worked so hard to get, this 100-point lead, drops right down the drain, and now they're Cognitive Gaming is catching right up to APeX Prime. This is the same thing we saw last game with the comeback here. Could this potentially come down to boss kills? Could this come down to team fights? Could this come down to bad rotations? We have to see how this works out. Now, Day is getting chased out by a Candace while he's trying to get to this hinge fight here. Knight is putting down tons of Condi pressure on Skovex. Skovex unable to get out. Tons of bleeds on him, and he's using his whole water rotation to try to get out of that, but now Knight is still continuing the pressure. H-Man is turning on the terror now, and Skovex actually gets dropped. However, while this was happening, a blue team member did actually decap that point, and this could turn into a 3-cap scenario if red team can't turn this fight into their favor quick enough.
You know what? That was a great job by Java sliding over to the mine and getting the decap. APeX is getting no points right now. No points in favor of APeX, with 2 in favor of Cognitive Gaming. They're going to catch up here momentarily, as also H-Man has gone into the downstate. APeX was able to get him up, but now Day is in the downstate here over on the henge. This henge fight has not been going well for APeX, so at the same time they are losing over at the henge. They had their home node mine decapped momentarily. Tarsus was forced to slide over and kick Java off of that point. Java was content to give it to him, so APeX is going to get the mine point back, but now Cognitive has retaken the lead here with 216 points just to 193 in favor of APeX. Knight has gone into the downstate in a terrible spot off of henge, and it looks like the rest of the blue team is going to rotate back over to the keep to try to prevent APeX from putting any pressure on that node. They just need to sit and hold this 2-cap now. They're actually going to go for Chieftain to try to even increase their lead further and get the buff, and they do. So now it looks like Cognitive Gaming has sort of run away with the momentum here. APeX is going to have to try to push for the keep or push for another node in order to get this momentum back.
Yeah, and APeX is going to need to try to stick together. You know, that 2v2 setup that they have, Knight and Tarsus, is very, very strong. They can usually win those 2v2s. They need to set that up. They need to be very aggressive against those nodes with that 2v2 setup that they have, and they need to pressure on these nodes, force the decap, hold the decap, make sure that they get that single cap into their favor, and then
get those points back into their favor and hold them. They have all of the necessary requirements to hold those points. They just need to actually do it.
Yeah, you know what? The blue team, though, has done an incredible job here over on Keep, keeping the pressure on H-Man. H-Man just not able to sustain himself for very long. At the same time, though, Knight has slid over to the henge point, and it looks like he's going to get the full cap, and he does. A huge mistake by Cognitive Gaming, giving up that point. At the same time, we have Tarsus recapping the mine, it looks like, for APeX, for the red team. So it looks like the red team is going to get that 2 cap and come back in this game, but Backpack smartly gets Tarsus CC'd off of the mine, but no, Morph is able to do the same thing to Backpack, as Backpack is not able to prevent the cap on mine. At the same time, Red team has put some pressure on the Keep, but has been forced to back off. Knight is sliding over to cover henge, as the rest of Cognitive Gaming is now sliding over to Morph and Anis Tarsus on the mine. It's going to be a 4v2 over here on the mine. A member of APeX has to get over here and support his teammates.
Yeah, exactly. 2-to-1 scenario here with Anis Tarsus very low, and H-Man coming in to potentially support him, but Tarsus goes down regardless. They're going to have to try to get Tarsus back up, and a ton of pressure coming in from Java and Scovex here. Might not be enough from APeX to get him up because of that, and the stomp comes out. Tarsus is completely out here. They just need to hold this node long enough for Tarsus to get back in and for potentially Day to put some pressure down on Keep, but it looks like they did not actually manage to hold that node, and now it's 1-1, 77 points down from Cognitive Gaming with a 1-1 cap, and blue team taking this node from them, but Scovex gets back up from Morph dying out, and now Knight is trying to get back onto the node to prevent that full cap. Tarsus back in. It looks like they're just trying to funnel players in, trying to make sure that this is a 1-to-1 scenario here.
Wow, great turn of events for Cognitive Gaming. But the banner from Tarsus is going to be able to get Knight up momentarily here. It is still a 4v2 over here on the mine. Not a good situation if you're APeX, so Morph is going to try to slide over and help Tarsus. It looks like they're just going to have to give up on this mine point, as they're not able to get these 4 members of Cognitive Gaming off of the point. Tarsus is going to go into the downstate. Fantastic job by Cognitive Gaming winning this fight, because if they had lost it, they were in danger of giving up that field position. They could have given up that lead, but instead they smartly pushed over on mine with 4 players, focused their targets well, and were able to win that fight. They're over 100 points now as we enter the late stages of the game. Both bosses are up, so if you are APeX, you have several ways to come back into this game, but you've got to win a point right now, and it looks like they've chosen to push both Keep and mine at the same time. Over here on the Keep, we have H-Man versus a Candace playing his DPS guard. That might be in favor of H-Man, but at the same time, Morph is very, very low over here on the mine, forced to use his gear shield block. It looks like the blue team is just not going to give up this mine point for APeX in time to come back. It looks like Cognitive Gaming is going to take this and go 2-0 unless a miracle happens here in favor of APeX Prime.
Yeah, and with this turning out into 485 points to 357 here, it's not looking too good for APeX right now. APeX winning that Tournament of Legends, coming second place in Tournament of Legends 2. It looks like they're going to have to fight for third place in Tournament of Glory here. Morph is down, and there it is. Game goes to Cognitive Gaming 2-0. Moving on to the finals here, 500-1 to 364. Congratulations to both teams. You guys provided us with a lot of fun to watch. Congratulations especially goes to Cognitive Gaming. You guys did a great job. All members of that team did a great job. Same goes to APeX as well.
Fantastic job, Cognitive Gaming, taking that 2-0. That first game was just a little shaky for them. It looked like they might have lost it there when APeX made that incredible comeback, but they did a great job tightening down on APeX Prime in that game. Then over on Forest, they were down early. But came back, got that 2 cap, was able to hold it, and